Okay, go.
The stuff here is trade pipes, Nathan Davis trade pipes to the Indians. The place is burnt down in 1840 by the Shawnee, so they're at least 1840 or below. This here is a pipe that's around Civil War time. That was where I found a few Civil War bones, right where there's somebody had put a septic tank before I moved here. Unfortunately, uh, this here this here is an old copper earring. It's probably maybe 1700s. That was traded to the Indians. An old copper actual ring. Looks like a wedding ring band or something. This right here is a 1700s officer's cufflink button from like French and Indian War. Um, these are like small things. The Indians, like this for instance, is a hole through it. The Indians would take these small metal things, and they would take these small metal things like this, and they would use them for armor on their coats, and along with all these military buttons that I find in my yard also. And some of them are pretty rare. This here is an actual um, Civil War, Confederate Civil War button that, which is a naval button, being it's got the anchor on it. But I guess it's pretty rare. But they would take all these things and put them on their coats and use them for armor to deflect maybe an arrow or a bullet or something. And to some degree that would work. This right here is like a trade. This here is like a trade piece that the Indians would pull like a lock of hair through it. And you know, like a lot of times they'd have a single lock of hair, the Osage would, and they'd pull it through this, and of course at the time it'd be a real shiny copper. This here is like a copper piece, look like maybe a nose ring of some kind, because it's got little bitty teeth on the ends of these prongs that I haven't quite figured out what that is, but I would say it's jewelry. It's so thin. This stuff right here is just a bunch of bent up stuff that they'll take lead beads, or they'll take like lead bullets and make them into beads on their necklaces. And this right here is a piece that was made out of an actual bullet casing. The rest of these, like I said, are military buttons. Some of those are kind of rare. This here is a 5 cent uh, trade piece that's basically trade token to the Indians, and they would basically have to use it like at a trading post, and it would be good for 5 cents worth of merchandise. And 5 cents worth of merchandise was a lot of merchandise, considering these Nathan Davis trade pipes you could buy for 100 of them for 3.5 cents at the time.
What is that right there?
This right here is a I feel myself is a military button that the Indian had gotten a hold of and actually just cut it all up and made it into a star himself. I feel it's too small for a spur, like I've been told by some people, but I think it's just too small for a spur. And it's got a hole in the middle, like where these, um, you know, where you hook your buttons onto. That's weaker right there. A lot of times, if you pull those out, there'll be a hole where you pull them out at. So I kind of feel that was made by an Indian. Um, let's move on to the next case. This case here involves mainly everything to do with guns. I found this little pistol just right off the bat. I found this little pistol just by pulling horseshoe nails out of my driveway with a big magnet, and this thing sucked onto my magnet, and instantly I knew it was a pistol. And it's an old early 1800s mountain man pistol. About every mountain man would carry one of those. This here, of course, you know, is a lever action for a gun, and these right here are nipple picks, and basically with the sharp end on the one end, you could pick out your nipple hole in case it got clogged with some, you know, with some debris or something. And then on the back side, they were usually flat, a little bit flattened out, and then you could pop off your cap if your cap got stuck onto the nipple. This right here is a piece of gun flint. That's just a little small Indian-made gun flint. It's not a trade flint for a flintlock gun. These two things right here are off of the ends off powder horns. And of course, you just got a lot of lead balls here, and you got chunks of trade lead there, and you got bullets and flattened down bullets. A lot of times, the Indians would take these bullets and flatten them down onto the flanges of their coats and stuff, and they would be like pretty things hanging on the end of their flanges. And that's why a lot of these are flattened. The rest of these are just gun parts. You can see where they made 2 small gun barrels into 2 chisels. You can see they're sharpened on the end here.
Show them the thing I found.
This right here is what a friend of mine found, and as old as that trigger is, it could possibly even go to a crossbow, I feel, but I got it just for viewing purposes. I got it with this other piece that I had found.
Did I find out with that metal detector? I can't
No,
remember.
we were digging.
Digging, just, yeah, straight digging. Found it.
And here's like another finger guard,
Yeah.
old finger guard. These here are just some more little gun part pieces, and this here is a barrel that's still got the sight on the tip. And there's an action that's kind of welded right to the nipple off a different gun. And this here is an old brass end of a gun barrel where the Indians would cut the gun barrels into pieces. They'd cut them so far, then they'd break it off. And they'd cut it another section and break it off, and they'd make barrel bead necklaces out of these shiny brass barrels at the time.
Yeah.
Just because they didn't know what they had or how to fire a gun. This here next case is mainly tomahawks and spikes, and what we got here is like pretty much a blacksmith made Missouri war axe. And the blacksmiths would take a lot of cheap scrap metal and just make different crap for the Indians, and the Indians would buy it up, you know, just in their spare time when money was running low. The blacksmiths would, and I don't know why anybody would sell the Indians weapons when they'd use them on them, but
Yeah.
that's just me. But anyway, but these here are spikes. These here big spikes would be in clubs. All these spikes would be in clubs. This here's a busted tomahawk, you know, with a hole through it also. This here's a tomahawk they cut in half widthwise and just made it into 2 or 3 celts, because they would cut a tomahawk or an axe head into 2 or 3 or 4 pieces, and then they'd have that many tools rather than just one tool. They felt the white man uses too much metal in their tools. It was like a waste to them. This here is the end of a tomahawk. These right here are spikes off spiked tomahawks, and they would cut the spikes off the tomahawks and use them for separate weapons. And that's why those have been cut off, all 3 of these. The next case we got right here, this here's a kettle iron point made just straight out of kettle iron, Indian made, and so is that one. All 3 of these are. These here are trade points to the Indians. These are like real thin trade points. Most of the trade points I find in my yard are just disintegrate, no sooner than I dig them up. But these here I've been able to preserve somewhat, and they all 3 got holes in them, which was better hafting when the white man sold them to the Indians. These here are conical points. This conical point here has got a barb on it, and it's probably like a muskrat spike, and it's conical. It's you know, where you stick your shaft inside of it. This one here is one that's homemade looking too, like a blacksmith made it. These here points on this one side here are all made out of hoop iron, made off the white man's wagon wheels, the iron off their wagon wheels, and those look so much of this stuff looks so badly made that I can't imagine really a blacksmith making a lot of this stuff. I kind of feel the Osage had their own blacksmith, and being the Indians never have worked metal before in their lives, I think they were doing the best they could for their new blacksmith that they probably had going on in this spot. Here's actually part of an axe also, like the back part of an axe. It's so thick and sharpened on both ends like a chisel. The last thing I want to talk about is these locks. These locks I found in my yard, and I found them all in one spot. And when I found these all in one spot, pretty much, I figured right there, and you could tell that they're either not that they're classed still, or else this one here, like you see, is busted all up. The Indians, whenever they'd get a hold of a box of things from the white man, that instead of just trying to get through the lock, they'd just bust the whole wooden box apart more than anything else, if they could get through that way. Very seldom did they try to take on a lock like you see in these 3 cases. But this one here didn't stand up to the Indians. The box itself must have been really, really strong for the Indians to have had to go through this lock here. This lock in particular is one only carried by the Pony Express riders, and it's got COW on the COWL on the front of it. And according to the expert that I talked to, that's only exclusive to Pony Express riders. So for like their mailbags. And so I would say a Pony Express rider probably got knocked off here in my yard. So, but yeah, these are locks from where the Indians had been breaking into boxes and stuff and raiding the white man, and it's, I'm still looking for artifacts and going to continue.
That is a history lesson right there.
With Howard Luce. Oh my God.
It's crazy what you can find in
That
here.
was